In a heated exchange on Capitol Hill, Senator Patty Murray sharply criticized Secretary Kristi Noem's leadership of the Department of Homeland Security.
Thank you very much, Chair Britt, and I look forward to working with you and Ranking Member Murphy in this Congress. Madam Secretary, as Senator Murphy mentioned in his opening statement, Secretary Noem, under your leadership, we have seen you ignore our appropriation laws, our Constitution, common sense, and even basic humanity. And like a lot of Americans, I really have been horrified by the lawlessness and incompetence and cruelty that we have all witnessed. And for all the talk about going after criminals, you have sidetracked DHS staff who are investigating drug dealers, terrorists, human traffickers. And rather than photo ops, we need more of your focus on providing basic diligence, because your crackdown has roped in American citizens and people who are here legally with no criminal record. Now, I'm not going to ask you whether that was right or wrong. I know it's wrong. The world knows it's wrong. And I think the first thing the history is going to say about your leadership is that you were responsible for many of these travesties. So I'm deeply concerned. You've deported a 4-year-old U.S. citizen with cancer. You've disappeared people to a notorious prison in El Salvador. And you have spent $100 million in taxpayer dollars to air TV ads thanking President Trump. That is really reckless. It's unacceptable, and in my opinion, can't continue. The American people are paying for this with our taxpayer dollars and with their most basic rights. Now, in the last 3 months, you have frozen or canceled over $100 billion in funding that was approved by Congress, bipartisan. We are talking about everything from disaster relief to grants that keep people safe. But when my staff has requested information on the status of this unacceptable holdup, the department failed to provide any acceptable justification. This illegal freeze, and it is illegal, is taking a real toll on communities who are waiting on the investments that Congress has delivered. So will you commit to immediately unpausing these funds?
Well, Senator, thank you for covering a lot of topics there. Let me touch on a few of those right away.
Well,
what the Trump administration is doing is enforcing the law for the first time. Under the Biden administration,
I'm asking you about the funds.
Illegal aliens were prioritized over American citizens. Now the scales of justice have been leveled, and
Madam
no one
Chair,
is treated better than anyone else.
I asked you a
Citizens are
question.
treated the same,
Madam
and these
Secretary,
illegal aliens
I know your
and criminals
answer.
are being
I heard
deported.
it previously. I'm asking you a specific
The grants
question.
that you are referencing,
Correct.
the grants that you are referencing have been paused and reevaluated to make sure that they are truly being spent in the way to which they were appropriated.
Well,
many of these grants were being diverted into things they were never intended.
These funds were passed on a bipartisan basis by members.
Absolutely, and the Biden
Congress.
administration perverted them in how they used them, diverted them to facilitate illegal immigration, to house people in places like the Roosevelt Hotel, who held illegal criminals
We're
that took the life
Madam
of
Chair,
Lincoln
about
Riley.
$100
I think all of us
billion.
have
It
recognized
is
that
not credible to
victims
me
here
that
are
all
the
the
people who have
recipients
died
of
and
that.
lost their children because
Madam
of this
Secretary,
situation.
it is not credible. Madam Chair, it is not credible that $100 billion is used to break the law. That just cannot be true. And let me change this a little bit. On the other hand, I am very concerned that DHS is now dramatically overspending funding that Congress has not provided. If you were a CEO doing that, I don't think you'd be in your job long. We need accountability and we need answers, and that includes informative responses to oversight questions sent to the department over the last 3 months. I am ranking member on this committee. I have worked with every member of this committee. We take our responsibility serious to fund your department and others. We need to have answers. We need to have accountability, and we need to make sure you're not overspending money that you were not allocated.
Well, thank you for that question. I will be very
It's not really
clear
a
in the
question, it's a
fact.
statement.
Do you want me to respond?
Well, you can.
Well, I've worked many jobs in my life, but I also have been a CEO. I've run
I'm not
businesses. I've been a
questioning your
governor.
credentials. I'm
and it is
questioning your spending.
We are prioritizing where our security needs are in this country, and we are hoping that this body will agree that reconciliation is necessary to address the things that have been neglected in this country for too long. That we have the technology upgrades, the manpower upgrades that are necessary. So the $170 billion request for the Department of Homeland Security
Madam
is
Chair,
incredibly
my time is
important to
running
make
out,
sure
and
we
I
have the
do have a
tools that
couple
we
of
need.
additional questions. The fact is that you've not been given this funding. Saying that it's going to come in reconciliation that has not passed is not an acceptable answer. I did want to ask about FEMA and disaster relief. This is really important. A lot of disaster relief has been politicized. You've endorsed eliminating FEMA outright. We have seen an upheaval at FEMA that is going to put lives in jeopardy. 1 in 5 FEMA employees have been pushed out, taking this administration's so-called buyout offer. We are losing indispensable staff just weeks away from fire and hurricane season, and over $100 billion in disaster relief and FEMA grants are still being held up. DHS is making it a lot harder to qualify for relief, something people in my home state of Washington are experiencing firsthand. Multiple requests from governors have been rejected in recent weeks, including a request from our state. And we haven't been given any response about this. And I'm watching this and I'm thinking, has President Trump directed you to prioritize funding for Republican states?
Absolutely not.
Have you directed your staff to prioritize funding to Republican-led states over Democratic
Absolutely
states?
not.
Have
There
your
is, under
staff
this administration, there will not be any politicization of support, relief, FEMA assistance, or grants given based on politics.
Well,
Every single person
there
will be
is a
treated the same.
clear
It will be very
trend,
different than the Biden
Madam
administration.
Secretary, there's a clear trend of Republican-led states getting very fast responses and funding. Democrat-led states are being forced to wait. We have never treated FEMA as a partisan issue in this country. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Murray accused Noem of ignoring appropriations laws, bypassing Congress, and engaging in reckless spending. She highlighted what she described as the lawlessness, incompetence, and cruelty of recent policies, pointing to cases where American citizens and legal residents were swept up in deportation efforts. Murray specifically mentioned a shocking case involving a 4-year-old American citizen with cancer who was deported and alleged that people were sent to a notorious prison in El Salvador. She also called out the department for spending millions on television ads praising former President Trump. This line of questioning reflects a broader concern about accountability and transparency. Murray pressed Noem on why more than $100 billion in congressionally approved funding, including disaster relief grants, has been frozen. She argued that withholding bipartisan disaster relief is not only illegal, but also dangerous, leaving communities across the country without vital support. Noem responded by claiming that many of the grants were being misused under the previous administration, and insisted that the department is reevaluating how funds should be distributed. The debate then shifted to FEMA and disaster response. Murray raised alarms over staffing shortages at FEMA, pointing out that 1 in 5 employees had left under the administration's buyout program, leaving the agency vulnerable just weeks before hurricane and wildfire season. She further alleged that there is a trend of Republican-led states receiving disaster relief more quickly than Democratic states. While Noem denied any political favoritism, Murray said the evidence suggests otherwise. This clash highlights the ongoing battle in Washington over how federal funds are distributed, whether political favoritism plays a role, and the need for stronger oversight to ensure taxpayer dollars are used responsibly. These issues directly affect millions of Americans who rely on disaster aid, community safety programs, and constitutional protections. If you want more updates and clear breakdowns of the debates shaping Congress, make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way, you'll stay informed on the policies, power struggles, and decisions that impact everyday life in the United States.